So, good morning, all. So, in the previous session, we had seen about functions, and under that, we had seen about the written values and the definition statement, and we'd also seen about the scope, that is local and global scope. So, next, we'll move on with the next topic, that is global statements. So, what are these global statements? So you have a global variable, you want to modify that variable within the function. Then in such cases, you can use this global statement. So global statements are nothing but they are used to modify a global variable from within the function. Okay. So when you say global within the function, when you say it is something like within the local scope, so you're trying to modify a global variable within the function, so that can be done using the global statement. So we'll see that with an example. So I'll just go to the Python tutor here. So you can see here, I have a program here. So this is an example for global statement. So you can see here, the first, the program execution, that is from here, that is def space, the name of the function you have. The name of the function here is spam. So we are using the definition statement to define a function. So with the name spam, and it is not taking any argument, and the definition part is terminated by a colon. Okay. So this is starting. So this is just a definition. So it is not going inside the block here. Okay. So the body of the function, it is not going. It is coming. The next statement that will be executed is this. So you can see here in the global frame, you have just the definition part of the function named spam. Then the next thing what will be done is you are having a global variable. So you are having a global variable called as x, and will initialize that with the string global. Now the next thing what will happen is the function spam is called. So the function spam is called. Now we are going inside the body of the function. So see here, within the body of the function, you have used the global statement. So what did we say for this global statement? This global statements are used to modify a global variable from within a function. So you have written this global statement within the function. You can see here, you have written over here. So the global variable is x here, right? So within the function, again you have used the global statement, and followed by that you have given the name of the global variable, that is x. So what happens in this case is, this is not going to create a local variable. So since you are given the statement, what happens, a local variable x is not created. So you can just see here, otherwise what would have happened here, one x, one like this, how in global variable, how you have here x, and it is initialized with the global. You can just come backwards, see here. So here what happened, this was during the global scope, that is x is having a value global. But now what is happening is, since you have given global x, so just check out, a local variable x is not created, but that x which was a global variable, there only the value of x has been changed from global to spam. So this is a usage of your global statement. So if you want to modify any global variable from within the function, then you can go for this global statement. So what happened here, a new local variable is not created. Instead, in the global variable only, the value has been changed here. Okay. So that is the purpose of global statement. Finally, spam will be printed. Okay. So this is an example for your global statement. Next, we'll go to the next topic. Okay. Other than that, here you have some rules to tell whether the variable is in a local scope or a global scope. The first one, it says that if a variable is being used in global scope, then obviously it is a global variable. If there is a global statement for that variable in a function, then it is a global variable. So I hope you have understood the meaning of global scope and local scope. We have already seen it in the previous sessions. Okay. Then the next point is, if a variable is used with an assignment statement in the function, then it will be having a local variable. So anything that is any variable that is defined within the function, you can call it as a local variable. But if the variable is not used in the assignment, then it is called as a global variable. So these are just some of the rules. Okay. Next, we'll go to the next topic, that is exception handling. So, exception. What do you mean by an exception? Any error that has occurred. So, usually what happens now? What happens if you get an error or exception in your Python program? Means the entire program will crash. But we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen. If there is any error, then your program should be such a way that you should be able to detect that error and you should able to handle that error and still continue with the execution. So for that purpose, you can go for what is called as exception handling. Okay. So exception handling are nothing but in case there is any error in your program, that error should be detected and it should be handled. So it should not be like there is an error, so your program is crashed. We don't want that to happen. So this concept already you might have already learned in your OOC, right, about exception handling, wherein you used try and catch block, or in your C++ you are using try and catch block. The same concept here. So again we'll see with an example program for this. So you have a program here. So I'll just copy this and we'll check it out in the visualization. Okay. So this is a program. We'll just see how this executes. So you can see here the first part, that is def statement, that is nothing but you're defining the function whose name is spam, and you can see this particular function is going to take a parameter that is what is named as divide by. So we'll see what it is. So after this, it's not going to come inside the block of the code because it is just the definition part. So what has happened here? In the global in your global frame, this particular spam function is defined. Okay. Now the next statement that will be executed is the function call here. So you're going to call the function spam and the parameter you're going to pass is 2. Okay. So function call. So you can see here uh, when you call the function, this particular parameter, that is in the function what parameter you have, that is divide by, that value 2 is passed. Okay. Next what happens, it comes inside the body of this function. So there what will happen, you have written a return statement. What it is going to do, it is going to divide 42 by what value you have in divide by, that is 2. So this particular statement is going to divide 42 by 2. Okay. And the result that is here is 21.0. That particular value, so you can see here the spam. So the return value here is for spam of 2. So you call the function spam with the value 2. The return value of this particular function was 21.0. So that value is printed here. Okay. Next you can see here. So that is what we spoke in the previous sessions. Whenever local scope, that is any local variable is there, its existence will be there only until that particular function is called. Once the function is done, then that particular local variable will be destroyed. So that is what we had seen in the previous sessions. Okay. So we'll come back. Oh, this is a good news. Your Google Meet is taking more than 100 people. So we'll come back to the program. So next again you're calling the function spam, but now you're calling with the value 12. So we'll just see here. So divide by. So your here you can see you have passed a value 12 now, that is stored in this parameter divide by. So again it will go into the function, that is the body of the function. It is going to divide 42 by 12. That return value 3.5, where it will come over here and it will print that value. Okay. So you can see here the next value that is printed is 3.5. So just check out, in the previous step what you had this local variable, and in the next step what happens, once you come out of the function, that particular local variable is destroyed. So this was a concept of local and global variable which we had already seen. Next, again we are calling the spam function, but now you are passing a value 0. So the spam function is called and the parameter that is passed is 0. Now you see it comes 42, you have to divide by 0. So now what happens, there is an error. What type of error? That is division by 0 error. Okay. So there is an error. So what concept we were speaking now? We were speaking about the concept called as exception handling. That is, in case there is an error, so we don't want the program to terminate. We want it to detect that error and handle that error and continue with the program execution. So what happened here? There was an error. So you can see here your program has been terminated. Okay, your program has been terminated because there was an error. That is, the type of the error here is zero division error. You are trying to divide a number by zero. So this is an erroneous situation. Now how you can handle this? So yes, yes, okay. So how you can handle this? So to handle this, we are using the statement that is try. And if you're speaking about C++, if you already learned C++, there we were using try and catch. So here we are using try and except. Okay, there it was try and catch, here it is try and except. So what happens is, any statement which you feel that it might raise an error, such kind of statement you are going to put it inside the try block. So you can see here, I'll just edit this code. Okay, I'll edit this comment. So here you can comment any line by using this hash symbol. So once again we'll run the program. So now the comment part I have removed, and we are showing the concept of try and except. So what did we say? Any statement which you find that it might raise an error, so such kind of statement you are writing inside the try block. Okay, and when there is error, what is the corresponding action need to be done? That is written inside the except block. Okay, so here 42 divided by, so it might happen that you might come across some situation wherein you're trying to divide by 0. In such case, in the except block, what kind of error it is? It is an error called as zero division error. So in that case, what should happen? This you have written a statement that is print error, invalid argument. So anything you can write inside this, but we are just telling that in case there is any error of this kind, how to handle it? You can handle it by using try and except statements. Okay, so any say code which you might feel that it might raise any error, so that you're writing inside the try block, and the corresponding handling part you are writing in except block. Okay, so this is about the try and except statements what you have in Python. So this is equivalent to the try and catch block which you have already learned in C++. Okay, so now we'll just see the working of the same program. In the previous what did I do? I had commented this try and except part. So we saw that when you are passing a value 0, you got an error message, that is divide by 0 error, right? So now we'll see what happens in this case. So again, same thing, a global variable spam. Here the first part is your function definition. Okay, your function definition part is done here. Now you're calling the spam function with the value 2. So you can see here 42 divided by 2. So the answer is 21.0. That answer is stored, that is printed here. Next again you're calling the same function spam, but now you're passing a value 12. So now you're passing a value 12. That 12 is stored in divide by. So 42 divided by 12. So you'll get an answer as 3.5. That 3.5 will be coming over here and will print that value. So after that you can see 3.5 is printed. Next again, once again, the next statement that should be executed is print spam 0. That is nothing but you're calling the spam function, but the parameter you're passing is 0. Okay. So now when you come here, you can see here, now the try block is executed, written 42 divided by 0. So now in this case what happens? There is an error generated. Okay, but that error can be handled. It can be handled by whom? By this except. So in the previous case what happened? When you come over here, if we had not written this try and except, then what would happen? When this particular statement would be executed, you would get this error message saying zero division error. Then the program is terminated, or it is halted there. Okay. But whereas in this case, what happened? Whereas in this case, what happened? Even though there is an error, that error is handled. That error is handled by this except statement. Okay. So in this case, what happens now? A statement as invalid argument. So you can see here a statement as invalid argument is printed. Okay. Finally, again you're passing 1. So in that case, you have 42.0. What is this none? Anybody? None? So none value we had seen in previous session. None is nothing but the null value. So usually this print function, what does it do? It is going to return a none value. Okay. So this is an example program for exception handling. I hope you have followed this. And the last part in this, in your first module, that is a small program is given to you. The program name is guess the number. So we'll just see the execution part of this program. So I'll just copy paste this program over here. Okay. So this is a program that is given to you, that is there in your syllabus, so the last part of your first module. So this program is to guess the number. Okay. So what we are doing in this is, they have given you the opportunity here. So we'll just go to the program. So first of all, this import, what does import do? Import is going to include this random module into our program. So you can see here the random module is included. Then why we are importing this random module? Because we are using this randint function. So this randint function is nothing but that is going to generate random numbers within this range. Okay, the range we have given here is 1 to 20. So since we are using this rand int, which belongs to this random, for that purpose you are importing this random module. So here the random number whatever is generated, that is stored in this variable called as secret number. Okay. So a random number is generated. So just see here the random number that is generated is 13. That 13 is stored in this secret number. Okay. Then you have a print statement. What is that print statement saying? I'm thinking of a number between 1 to 20. Now in this case the number that is generated is 13. Okay. So you're asking the player to guess. So how many opportunity is given, or how many times the player can guess? He can guess for 6 times. Okay. So for that purpose here we have used a for loop. Again, for loop we have already seen in the previous session. For the guessing, how many times you can guess? That guessing can be done in a range of 1 to 7. So total 6 times we can guess the number. So after this, the next statement is, okay, guess taken. Guess taken is nothing but in your C language how we are using for I equal to, like that. Okay. So here we are using, instead of I we are using the guess taken. So this guess taken is nothing but the looping variable which is initialized to 1. So you can see here that you have given it in the program in range 1 comma 7. So that purpose here it is initialized to 1. Next, you are asking the user to take a guess. Okay. You are asking the user to take a guess. So the next statement you see here, we have used the input function. What is this input function? Input function is you are allowing the user to enter the input. So I'll just enter some number as 4. So you can see here I'll be entering. So that 4 what I have entered, that will be converted to integer. Okay. So usually this will be input function will take the values which will be in the form of string, that is converted into integer, and that is stored in the variable guess. So just see here. Okay. Just see here you have the variable guess which is initialized with the value 4. Next what we will do here is we will check the secret number that is generated using the random function. Here in this case it is 13. You're checking whether the number what we have guessed, whether it is less than or greater than, or whether it is equal to. Okay, so here we have three possibilities. That is, either the number might be the guessed number and which the random number generated, it might be same, or it might be greater than the random number generated, or lesser than the random number generated. So we have to check for each of the cases. So first case what we will do here is, if guess is less than secret number, so our guessed value is 4 and the secret number that is generated using the random function, that is 13. So 4 is less than 13. Yes, this condition is true, right? So that time what happens, the statement will be printed, that is, your guess is too low. So you can see here this particular statement is printed. Again you are looping, so you have used a for loop here. Again it will be looping, but now what will be the next guess taken? So you can see here, previously it was 1, right? Previously it was 1, next time it became 2, so it is incremented till where? So how many possible guesses you can do? You can do up to 6, that is, you can take 6 guesses. So now the guess taken is 2. Again you are asking the user to take a guess, so now I will enter the value some 5. So the range of number what I can give is between 1 to 10. Sorry, 1 to 20. Okay. So I'll give some value as 10. So now the guess what I have taken is 10. And the secret number that is generated to the random function is 13. So once again you have to check whether 10 is less than 13. Yes, it is true. So again it is going to give the statement as guess is too low. And after that, once again the next statement that should be executed is this for statement or for loop. Okay, now you just see, previous iteration your guess taken was 2, now your guess taken is changed to 3. Once again you're asking the user to take a guess. So now I'll enter some value 15. I have entered 15. Now again the comparison, that is, you're checking for the condition here whether 15 is less than secret number. Secret number is 13 only, but the guess value, how many possibility we can give? We can give 6 times. Okay, different values you can give. So 15 is less than 13. This condition is false. So you're going to come to the else part. 15 is greater than 13. Yes. So your guess is too high. Okay. Once again, you're coming to the for loop. Now you see guess taken value has been changed to 4. Now once again, we'll give the input. So now I'll give 13 only. So now in this case, since we are tracing, we know that secret number generated is 13. But if you're simply running the program, we don't know what is the number generated. So now in this case, I'll give the value as 13 only. So now what happens? Again, it will check whether 13 is less than 13. This condition fails. It will come to else part, whether 13 is greater than 13. Again here it is failed. So it is coming to the else part, that is, the guess is correct. In this case, what is the statement that will be printed? You will be printing a statement as the guess number. Uh, so just see here the statement. You'll be this particular statement will be printed, that is, you guess the number in 4 guesses. So for that, how you have written? You have written guess taken. So this guess taken is nothing but the looping variable you have in your for loop. So that particular looping variable is converted to string. Why it is converted to string? Because integer cannot be concatenated with the string. So for that purpose, you're you're converting it into string and you're concatenating. So for that purpose, you have used the plus symbol here, concatenating with the string statement. So this is a program which is which is asking the user to guess a number, and it is comparing whether it is equal to the random number generated. If it is equal, it is printing as at what, how many number of guesses you had taken. If no, if the value what you have guessed is not equivalent to the random number generated, then it will print as the number I was thinking, that is not present. Okay, So we'll just run this program in IDE and just check out. So this is our, I've already written this program in the file editor here. So I'll just run it in the IDE. It is an interactive shell. So now you can see, previously I showed you in the visual form, that is we were tracing there. So we were not getting, so there you got a message, or that number which was random generated was visible to you. But now when you're running, it is not visible. Okay. So that I showed you, so that you will be knowing how the program execution goes. Okay. Just for tracing purpose, I showed it here. So if you're running the program, if you're running the program, that random number generated is not visible to you. You're simply guessing. So the first number I guessed was 4. So I got a message as it is too low. I'll give some 10, and even then I got it as low. I'll give some 17. So you see, it is, if I give 10 it is low, if I give 17 it is high. So the random number generated will be somewhere in between. I'll give 15 and see. So I'm having only 6 possible guesses. Okay. So 4 are done. So when I'm giving 10 it is low. When I'm giving 15 it is high. So my number should be between that 10 and 15. So I'll give something 13. Even 13 is low. So the last possibility, or the last chance I have, is only 14. Yeah. So you can see here, um, the guess number was 14. So I took 6 guesses. So this is how your result will be displayed for this particular program. Did you understand this program? Guys, are you there? Okay. So that is the last part of your first module. So with that, we are done with the first module. So in this module, what and all we had seen? We had, the first part was, the first, to begin with, we started with Python basics, wherein we saw about the interactive shell, that is your IDLE, and we saw how we can enter some expression, and how you will get some types of errors also we had seen. Then we saw about concatenation, wherein we are using plus, and replication, where you're using the star. Along with that, variables we had seen. Then, so that is what was there in the first chapter of the textbook. Okay. So your first module is having 3 chapters. The first chapter is Python basics. So till here we are done with the Python basic. And in the second chapter we had seen about flow control. Under that we saw some flow charts. We also saw about the boolean values, comparison operators, boolean operators, and we also saw how the different statement executes, also looping statements. Then how we can import the module. So till here, this is your second chapter of the textbook. Okay, that comes under your flow control. And the last chapter was functions. So under functions, we saw how you can define a function. The function can be defined by using this def statement, and you can give some parameters also. Then we saw about the return statements. The none value is nothing but it is equivalent to the null. Then we saw about keywords, keyword argument, then local and global scope, global statement, exception handling, that is in case if there is any error, how you can handle it. So to handle it, you are using the try and except. And the last one was this program, that is guess the number. So with that, we are done with the first module. We are done with the first module, which includes Python basics, then flow control and functions. Okay. So I hope you have understood what and all we had seen in the first module. Yes or no? Okay. So we'll close with that. Okay. So shall we go ahead with the second module, that is, which consists of again 3 chapters from a textbook, that is list, dictionaries, and structuring data and manipulating strings. Okay, so these are the three chapters of module 2. So we'll go ahead with that. So first of all, list. So what do you mean by list? Anybody? So when you're learning C language and all, we had seen something called as array. So why are we using arrays? Arrays are nothing but whenever you want to store large amount of data, then you're going for arrays, right? So something similar to that. It is not, you cannot say it as both are same, but somewhat similar. That is list. List can contain multiple values. Again, here when you want to store large amount of data, then you can go for list, which makes it easier to write programs that handle large amount of data. So lists are used whenever you want to hold large amount of data. Okay. So, and since lists themselves contain other lists, you can use them to arrange data in hierarchical structure. So what are this list? List we are using whenever you want to hold large amount of data. Again, this list, again it can contain other lists also. Okay. So we'll just see with some examples about this list. So before that, we will go for the next topic, that is about, okay, that is about the list data type. Okay, so what do you mean by the list data type? So list is a value that contains multiple values. So we said list. What can be a list? List is nothing but collection of values. It's not like you have only one value. You're having collection of values. Okay. So how this collection of values are stored? So list is a value that contain multiple values in a ordered sequence. So the values that are stored will be in the sequence. Now in arrays, how you were using array of 0, array of 1, how you were using index. Similarly here also you have the same format. So for that purpose you can say it as in a ordered sequence. Okay. The term list value refers to the list itself, not the values inside the list value. So when you say list value, when you say list value, it is nothing but it is referring the list and not the values that is stored inside the list. Okay, so we'll see about that. So the list value, something like this. So we have a list here. That list contains cat, bat, rat, elephant. So these are some of the values that is given. We'll see it with an example. I'll go to the interactive shell here. Okay. So I'll just show you. So this list always starts with the square bracket. Okay. Just as the string values are typed with quotes to mark where the string begins and ends, a list begins with an opening square bracket and ends with the closing square bracket. So we'll just see how we can write a list. So for that purpose, you're going to the interactive shell there. So I'll always, it starts with the opening bracket. So I'll give like this 1 comma 2 comma 3, and it is terminated by a closing square bracket. Okay. So this is an example for your list. So this is a list in which you have three data, okay, or three values, and they are in the sequence. So this is one example. Other than that, it is also possible for us to give some string kind of data. So string, we know it is represented by a single quote. So we can give this way also. So you can see this is my list which consists of string kind of data. Other than that, string can be a collection. You can also say list is an ordered sequence of heterogeneous element. So the previous two example what you saw was in the string you had only integer kind of data. In the first list you had only integer kind of data. In the next list you had string kind of data. So what we can say for list is a ordered sequence of heterogeneous element. So in this case what you're saying, along with, means you can have integer, you can have floating point, you can have string also. Okay. So what you can say, list is nothing but it is a collection or a ordered sequence of heterogeneous element. Okay, heterogeneous element. So I'll just show you with an example. So in the first element, I'll write it as hello, then I'll write 1, then I can write 4.5. So what happened here, we are having an integer in the list. We have a string, we have an integer, we have a floating point value. Okay, so just see, this is a list that is created in which we have different types of data. Okay, and it is also possible for us to assign this list to some variable. So again, same thing we'll use. I have cat, I have bat, and I have rat. Okay, so these are the different values what we have given in our list, and that I have assigned to a variable called as spam. So this particular variable spam is having cat, bat, and rat. So I'll just display this. So I'll just check out what is there in this variable spam. So for that I have to give the name of the variable. So when I give the name of the variables, you can see here, this particular variable spam is having cat, bat, and rat. So this is an example of list. I hope you are clear with this. So what you can say, list is a collection of heterogeneous element which are in the ordered sequence. Okay, so that is what you have to tell for list. So values inside the list are called as items. So you can see here we have the values like cat, bat, rat. So these are nothing but they are called as items. So items are separated with comma. It's true, right? So you can see cat, bat, rat, everything is separated by a comma. Okay, so that is what they're saying. We'll go to the next slide now. So getting individual values in a list with indexes. So what is the meaning of this? So in arrays we had seen, right, when we are speaking about arrays. So arrays are nothing but collection of elements. So each of the now suppose one particular element if you want to access means how we would write? We would write the index of that particular element. Same concept here also, getting individual values in a list with the indexes. So you can see here in my list which I have assigned to a variable spam, that is stored in, that is having the value cat, bat, rat, elephant. So these are ordered list. Okay, these are ordered sequence. So according to that, what happens? Spam 0 I have cat, spam 1 I have bat, spam 2 I have rat, spam 3 I have elephant. So this is an example which is telling us each of the items that is there in the list are indexed. So if you want to access any of the items, then you can access it through the index. Okay, so I hope I'm clear with this. So again we'll see with some example. Okay, we'll see with an example for this. So now we'll take the same example in which spam. So I have a variable spam, and in that spam I have initialized the items as, or I have given the items as cat, bat, and rat. Now suppose I want to access this rat. Okay, so how it will be? 0, 1, 2. Index position will be 0, 1, 2. So if I'm giving spam of 2, so what happens if I'm giving spam of 2? Spam of 2 is 0. So cat is having index 0, bat is having index 1, and rat is having index 2. So I have given spam of 2 means rat will be printed. Okay, similarly if I'm giving spam of 0, spam of 0 means cat will be printed. This is visible, right, to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is how, okay, so this is how you can access a particular element in the list. Okay, other than that, we can also try out something like this. I'll give a string.
Yes, ma'am.
What, Ashwin? Okay. Okay, so here you can just see here I have used a string and I have used the plus. So plus is nothing but here it is a concatenation. Okay, so what is happening for this hello, for this string hello, I am concatenating the value that is stored in span of 0. In span of 0, we have a item called as cat. So you can see here we got the result as hello cat. Okay, this is one way. Other, you can also write this way. Hmm. The So you can see here what happens in this case. We have concatenated the values of your list with some string related data. Okay. So here we have written the, which is a string, and we have concatenated this part, that is spam of 1. Spam of 1, whatever you have. In spam of 1, what you have cat. Sorry, spam of 1, sorry. So spam of 0, you have cat. Spam of 1, you have bat. So you got the result as the bat is, and after that we have written eating, and we have written spam of 0. In spam of 0, you have cat. So that value is taken. Okay. So this is how you can use, or how you can index the elements of what, of list. Okay. Other than this, indexes can only be integer value. Okay, that is one more point what you have to remember. You cannot use floats. So float value, so suppose I'm giving here 1.0, spam of 1.0. So you can see here, in that case what happened, I'm going to get an error. Okay, so what we want to say, index value should always be a integer value. Okay, so by chance you gave integer value, in that case what do we need to do? We have to, so you should tell me what is the meaning of this. So what are we doing here? Spam. Typecasting. Yes, typecasting. Good. So now what value will be printed? Spam of 1. Okay, in spam of 1 you have bat. I hope I'm clear with this. Okay. So next we'll move on with the next topic, that is negative indexes. While index starts at 0 and go up, you can also use negative integers for the index. So what are we telling here? So we said index from 0, it is going on increasing. That is one way. Or the other way, that is you can go in the negative integers also. So the integer value -1 will refer to the last index in the list, and -2 will refer last but one. Okay, like this it goes on. So what we are telling here, it is not like always you should use 0 index and go on in the increasing order. You can go the other way also. That is, you're starting, for that we are saying it is negative indexes. That is, you're starting from the backward. The last value whatever you have, that will be -1, and just previous to that will be -2. Like this it goes on. So we'll just see again with an example. So we'll go to the same example here. So if I'm telling spam, what I'm having in spam? In spam, I'm having cat, bat and rat. Okay. So if I'm telling spam of -1, if I'm telling spam of -1, so what we said in negative indexes, it is possible for us to use negative index as a negative value. So if you're given -1 means we are referring to the last value. Okay, so -1 if you're giving, then what happened here? rat is printed. Rat is printed, which is the last value in your list. If I'm giving spam minus 2, in this case, what happens? Last but one is nothing but bat will be printed. Okay. So again, in this case also, it is possible for us to concatenate with the string values. So I'll just write spam of -1. So in this case, what happens? Spam of -1. So what is the value for spam of -1? What is the value for spam of -1? It is the last one in the list, that is rat. Okay. So is eating spam of -3. So -1, -2, -3. So the first one will be having the index as -3. Okay. So we'll just see the result of this. So you're getting the result as the rat is eating cat. I hope I'm clear with this. Okay. Next. Next, we'll go to the next part. That is, you're trying to get, that is getting sublist with slices. So what is the meaning of this? Just as index, so in the previous example you saw about index, we can get a single value from a list. A slice, what does it do? You can get several values from the list in the form of a new list. So in your new list, it's like you're saying from here to here, some range like that you can say. Okay. So index, when you use, you're going to get a single value. But when you're using this slice concept, that is getting sublist with the slices, in this concept what we are saying, it is possible for us to get a range of value. Okay. A slice is typed between the square bracket. So you can see here, a slice is typed between the square bracket like an index. So here you can see, when you give one value, that is an index value. When you give a range like this, then that is nothing but the slice. Okay. So slice is typed between the square bracket like an index. It has two integers separated by a colon. So what is this? Two integers which are separated by colon. Okay. So we see this with an example here. So before that, in a slice, the first integer is the index where the slice starts. So here 1 to 4. So first one is the index where the slice starts. So starting from 1, and the second index is the index where the slice ends. Okay. As the slice goes up, but will not include. So what is the meaning of this? From 1 to 4 you have told. 1 to 4, the fourth one is not included. Okay. So but will not include the value of the second index. Fourth one is not included from 1 to 4. That is still 3. The slice evaluates to a new list. So you're going to get a new list after the evaluation of this. So again, we'll see with an example here. So here we will see, we already have that spam. So I'll just give spam, which is going to display me the list of values. Okay. So I have 0, 1, 2, right? So if I'm giving spam 0 to 2, 0 to 2. So what happens here? 0, you have cat. 1, you have bat. So 2 is not included. 0 to 2. Okay, 2 is not included. That is what they're saying here. That is about the slice. Okay. Similarly, if you're saying 1, 2, 3, in this case 1, 2, 3. 1 to 3. So this is 0. Cat is 0, whereas bat is 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 is not included. That is, so for that purpose, bat and rat is printed. That is one thing. Okay. Again, we can also use the negative index, what we already spoke in the previous slide, that is 0 to -1. So when you give -1, that is nothing but we are speaking about the last one. Okay. So here what happened? -1 means the last one. So last one is not included. That is what they're saying here. Okay. So when you give the second index is not included. So that is an example for this. Other than that, we can also give some more example, like suppose we are giving like spam colon 1. In this case, spam colon 1. So starting from 0. So here starting range you have not put. You have just put the till 1. Okay, till 1 means the last one won't be included, only 0 will be there. So for that purpose you got only cat. Okay, similarly ending one you can mention. So how you will write it? So only the starting one you can mention. In this case, only the starting one you have mentioned, that is the zeroth won't be included. Other than that, that is bat and rat. So here ending one you are not mentioning. Okay, so these are the different ways how you can give, or else you can simply give as, oh sorry, just give it in next line. You can also give it this way. In this case what happens, the complete values that is stored in the list will be printed. Okay, so these are the different ways. Next we'll go to the next slide, that is getting list length with the function len. The len function, what does it do? It returns the number of values that are in a list value passed to it. Just like it can count how many number of characters are there in the string. Okay. So how many number of or how many values that are there in the list, that value will be returned by this length function. So we'll just again check out. So the same spam will use. So we know in spam how many data you have, that is or value cat, bat and rat. So I'll just give len followed by spam. So now what is the result that is displayed? The result that is displayed is 3, telling that this particular list is having 3 values. Okay, so that is an example for this. The next one, changing values in the list with indexes. So how you can change the value of the data that is there in the list by using the indexes. Okay, normally a variable name goes on the left hand side of an assignment statement like this. That is true, right? We have already seen the assignment statement. So spam equal to 42, when you give 42 will be initialized to this variable spam. So you can also use index on the list to change the value at that particular index. So what we are telling, we have already seen about list. In the list you are going to have some value. So it is possible for us to change the value that is stored in that list by using spam. That is, spam is nothing but the list name there, followed by the index. So what happens here? Index value you have given as 1. So in that particular index position, you are replacing it with the new value. What is that new value? A, B, B, C, C, D, D. Okay. So what does it do? It assigns the value at the index 1 in the list spam to the string A, B, 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 that is C, C and D. So again we'll see with an example. So we already know what is there in spam. In spam we have cat, bat and rat. So suppose I give spam of 1. Spam of 1 if I'm giving as, okay. spam of 1 I'll give like this. So what happens now? Now once again I'll check the value that is stored in spam. So you can see here bat is replaced to goodbye. Okay. So this is how you can change the values in a list with indexes. Okay. Other than this, we can give some other. Suppose I'll give like spam of 0, 1, 2. So spam of 2 is equal to spam of 1. So suppose I'm giving like this. So what are we doing? We are assigning the value of spam of 1. In spam of 1, what do we have now? We have goodbye. So that value you are assigning it to spam of 2. Okay. So now once again we'll check the content of spam. So now you can see both spam of 1 and spam of 2 are having the same value, that is goodbye. Okay. Other than this, some other example like spam of -1. So by now we know spam of -1 means we are referring to the last index position. Okay. So suppose I'll give here 555. Okay. Now, so what are we doing? We are assigning the value this 555 to the last index position. Okay. Now once again we'll check the value of spam. So you can see here the last index position has been changed to this value. Okay. So these are the different ways how you can change the values that is stored in the list. I hope I'm clear. We'll go with the next one. List concatenation and list replication. So we have already learned about this concatenation and replication in the previous module. So the same thing once again we'll see. Plus operator can be used to combine two lists to create a new list value. The same way it combines two strings. So in the previous module we had seen how the plus operator can be used to combine two strings or concatenate two strings. Here we'll see how the list can be combined. Okay. Similarly, star operator can be used with list and integer value used along with it to replicate that how many number of times the replication should be done. So that is nothing but the integer value. Okay. Suppose you want to replicate the value thrice, then you can give the integer value as 3. So again we'll see it with an example. Okay. So I'll have a list in which I'm having the value 1 comma 2 comma 3. This is my first list, and for this I will use the operator plus. So when I have used the operator plus, so what does it do? It is going to concatenate. Okay. And in my other list I'll have the value a, b and c. So what does this do? This is going to concatenate. Concatenate is nothing but combine. So you can see here the final new list what is created. The new list created is having both the values or the values of both the list. Okay, that is 1, 2, 3 and A, B, C. Similarly, you can go for this one concatenation. That is similarly you can go for the replication. For the replication we are using the star operator. Okay. So we can write like this. So we'll have a list as a comma. In the list we'll have the value a, b and c, and we'll use the replication operator, that is I'll use, so what we had seen in the slide here. So star operator can be used with the list and an integer value to replicate the list. Okay. So here we'll just see with an example here. So here the replication integer value what we have used is 5. So you can see here this particular data of your list has been replicated to 5 different values here. So you can see here ABC the first time, again ABC the second time, the third time, 4 and 5. So this is about your replication. Okay. So that is about your concatenation and replication, how you can do. Next we'll just see now in spam what do you have. Okay, we'll see the content. So I'll just use the same spam. I'll initialize with the value. I'll initialize with the value 1, 2, 3. So the content of spam is 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now we'll just use a statement. Spam is equal to spam plus, and here I'll use A C. Okay. So you see here what we are doing. In the spam we have the value 1, 2, 3, and I'm concatenating it with other list. The other list is having a value ABC. Okay. So we'll just see what will be the status now. So now if I'm checking spam, so we'll be having 1, 2, 3 followed by ABC. Okay. So this is what will be there in your spam in the list named as spam. So it is containing the value 1, 2, 3 as well as the concatenated value, that is ABC. Okay. Next we'll see the last one, removing values from list with the delete statement. So delete statement is used to delete the values at an index in the list. So we know to refer to any value, we can index, we are using the index there of that particular value. So all of the values in the list after they are deleted will be moved up one index. So what happens, we have already seen we have list, and that list will be having some index number. So whenever you're removing, when you're removing, here we are using the delete statement to remove. Whenever you have removed, the contents will be moved up by one position. Okay. So again, we'll see with an example here. So currently in my spam, what I'm having. So currently in my spam, I have in this list named spam, I have the value 1, 2, 3 and ABC. So suppose I will use the delete, that is DEL statement. So that is used to delete. Okay. So I will use DEL followed by the name, of the list, and I will give some index position. So I will give the index position as 0, 1, 2. I'll give the index position as 2. So when we do that, what happens? So in index position 2, what do we have? We have 0, 1, 2. So you are having a value 3. Okay. So now we'll just see whether that 3 has been deleted or not. So for that, you should give the name of the list, that is spam. So you can see here the whatever was there in the index position 2, that is the value was 3, that value has been deleted. Okay. Similarly, like this, you can also delete, if you're giving delete spam of -1, if you're giving delete spam of -1, so we know -1, that is negative index, that is nothing but the last value. So you can just check out whether the deletion has happened or not. So you can see here C has been deleted. Okay. So this is how you can remove the values from the list using the delete statement. Okay. So shall we move on with the next topic? Okay. So next, that is working with the list. So here they have given you an example program wherein you will be entering the names. So they have given you an example as we want to enter the names of cat. Okay. So we'll just see with an example. We'll just see with an example program. Is it possible for you to take me to clinic? Okay. So we'll just wind up for today's session. We'll do the remaining in the next session. Guys, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll do the remaining topic in the next class. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.